Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. It is quite blurry right now between the headlines and the main, as everything this week is just all new model releases. Yesterday, as OpenAI was getting in the open source game again for the first time since 2019, and Google was resetting our expectations of world simulation models, 11 Labs, who some of you know as the company that I have frequently used to do a version of my own voice for reading articles on this show, launched an AI music service. Now, there are a bunch of things that are interesting about this. First of all, this is 11 Labs' first expansion beyond generative speech, where they are at this point one of, if not the default market leader in voice cloning, text-to-speech, and translation. This new music release, called 11 Music, is a feature-complete music generation suite with instrumental and lyrics, meaning it competes directly with services like Suno and Udio. You can create an entire song based on a prompt. The example you just heard is from the prompt powerful choir, orchestral, large crescendo, ethereal, spacious reverb, expansive, cinematic, classical music. Or this one, roller, liquid drum and bass, fast technical percussion, thick bass influences from IDM, soft female vocals, heavily processed.
All the truth we push away. All the truth we push away.
11 Labs say the model is capable of generating a tune within minutes, and yet as impressive as it is, and the quality at first glance is incredibly impressive to me, the biggest selling point over others in this space is that the 11 Music model is claimed to be legal for broad commercial use. Both Suno and Udio are currently facing lawsuits from the major record labels for using their recordings and training data. Now, it's very unclear how music generated using those models is going to be treated under copyright law. Those are big battles to be fought. But 11 Labs is just trying to short-circuit that entirely, abstaining from including music from the major labels in their training sets. Instead, they signed agreements with independent rights management firms Cobalt Music and Merlin Network, with Cobalt saying that their artists had been given the choice to opt into their music being used in the training data or not. Ed Newton-Rex, who is the CEO of Fairly Trained, an AI copyright advocacy nonprofit, posted positively, saying, co-founder of 11 Labs confirms that their new AI music model is trained only on songs they've licensed. This is really good to see. When a handful of AI companies try to tell you generative AI can only be built with scraped copyrighted work, remember that the majority of AI music models license their training data, including now 11 Labs' model. Certainly first impressions just from a quality standpoint are very good. Chubby writes, 11 Labs music was not on my bingo card. Holy moly does this sound good. We're now entering the era of real AI music. We are witnessing history. Now, even though 11 Labs says this is cleared for commercial use, when you look into the terms, there's still some questions in here. There are restrictions around, for example, whether you can distribute these things to music streaming services and exactly where you can use them. But it's pretty clear where this has a lot of disruptive potential is around commercial uses of music like game development, advertising, startup launch videos, basically anything that would have had you digging around before for the perfect sound clip or for the perfect licensed song. You can now just generate on the fly. Creator Tyler Ganges says, "It's so simple, so easy, and will save me so much time." Theodore Mitu connected the dots between Genie 3, which we'll talk about later in the main episode, and said between this, the GPT onslaught, and the new 11 Labs music tool, the entire legacy creative industry is cooked. For my part, I'm going to be super interested to see and watching very closely how much 11 Music actually gets used for this commercial use case, given that theoretically that's been possible with things like Suno before, but hasn't really happened. Maybe the way that they train this model will open up that use case, but we will have to wait and see. Now, another model launch, which actually happened all the way back in the olden times of Monday, was Lindy 3.0. Lindy 3.0 they're pitching as their biggest step ever towards their vision of the AI employee. Now, if you haven't tried Lindy, they offer an AI agent platform that aims to make the agent building process simpler. Their last big release was Agent Swarms, which allowed use case like sales management agents to carry out dozens of tasks in parallel. Lindy 3 has 3 big new features that bring the platform up to speed and push the state-of-the-art forward. CEO Flo Crivello wrote, "Our vision has always been the AI employee, as capable as humans, can do anything on a computer, and as easy to use, just ask." 3.0, he says, takes 3 giant steps in this direction: Agent Builder, Autopilot, and Team Collaboration. Agent Builder is exactly what it sounds like, and is, I think, very much the future of how agent models are going to work. Flo writes, Just type what you want and it builds it for you in minutes. Now, this is a huge UX improvement for non-technical people. If you've ever fiddled with N8N or Lindy and immediately closed it because you were confused about nodes and about these charts and drawing lines from one function to another, this is a lot closer to what you probably are looking for, which is more akin to vibe coding for agents. A vibe coding for agents platform would be one where you didn't need to know the details of agent architecture, you just had to describe what you wanted to automate. Now, what is a little bit interesting about the UX for Lindy's agent builder is that it still exposes the chain of steps, even though it's creating them for you, which gives you more granular fine-grained control to modify it to the extent that the agent builder gets it wrong. That could end up being the right combination, especially for power users who want a little bit more control. Autopilot is Lindy's version of computer use. Flo again writes, Autopilot takes us closer than ever to can do anything. Lindy agents can now work with their own computers in the cloud. He also continued, when we say anything, we mean it. We found out after building Autopilot that now Lindy could also build fully functional websites, deploy them, and even QA them using its browser. We accidentally built Lovable. In dogfooding the product, Lindy found that it was useful for the repetitive work that could be automated in the background. Flo told TBPN, one of the most insane things that's automated for us is replacing the QA engineer. Every hour, a Lindy agent wakes up, tests the entire core flow, and if anything goes wrong, it pings the on-call engineer. Now, lastly, team collaboration does what you'd expect, allowing your team members to natively share and iterate on their agents. I think what's most interesting to me in some ways, aside from just the utility of this, is the move to the vibe coding for agents kind of UX. We've seen some of this already with Emergence recently releasing their Agents Creating Agents platform, but it's hard for me to imagine that this doesn't just become totally standard in de rigueur very soon. Now, lastly, one more little model announcement before we get to our main episode. Alongside Genie 3, Google also announced Storybook. Their Gemini app account writes, it's Storytime reimagined. Now you can create personalized illustrated storybooks about anything, complete with read-aloud narration. And this is kind of one of those things where the capabilities aren't new, but it's just an interface designed to specifically get at a particular use case. Now, one of the things that's very notable to me is that when parents experiment with AI for the first time, a huge default use case is around creating stories for their kids, illustrating their kids' visions with image generation tools, basically bringing the magical things that happen in kids' brains to life with technology. It's the convergence of the magic of childhood with the magic of technology. And that definitely seems to be what was going on with Storybook. Joel, who's a PM at DeepMind, wrote, as a new father, I've been thinking about how to communicate with my son in a way that truly resonates with him, and in a way that many of our own parents use to communicate with us, reading. With Storybook, you can now describe any story you can imagine, and Gemini generates a unique 10-page book with custom art and audio. We're excited to help people find creative ways to bridge communication gaps when you don't quite have the words for it. Now, of course, in a week of crazy open source releases and world simulation models, maybe this seems a little bit small, but I wouldn't be surprised if for a lot of you parents out there, the coolest new thing that got released in the short term might just be Google's Gemini Storybook. With that, though, we are going to close out the headlines. Next up, the main episode.